Footballers covering their mouths during a confrontation with an opponent or any other player on the pitch will be given a red card under a new rule approved by the International Football Association Board. The board held a SAF meeting in Vancouver on Tuesday to pass FIFA-approved amendments to address inappropriate behavior ahead of the World Cup in North America.
London, United Kingdom. Recent headlines from British newspapers speak to different areas of tension in the UK due to the United States-Israel war on Iran, economic woes, political friction and worries about the country's readiness for the future, strategically and militarily, if the conflict persists. On Thursday, the Financial Times blared, "Consumer confidence slumps to two-year low." As The Guardian reported, UK braces for price rises driven by Iran war as economic confidence plummets, and UK prepared to deploy RAF Typhoons to keep Strait of Hormuz open after Iran war. Earlier this month, The Independent reported that Prime Minister Keir Starmer risked US President Donald Trump's wrath as he refuses to let US use UK bases for strikes on Iran's infrastructure. And on Sunday, quoting a minister, The Times said the economic fallout from the Iran war would last at least 8 months.
And a trial has opened in a military court in Jakarta for 4 Indonesian soldiers accused of carrying out an acid attack on an activist who campaigned against the expansion of the role of the armed forces in government. Military prosecutors charged the group, including Edi Sudarko, Budi Haryanto, Widi Cahyono, Nandala Dwi Prasetya and Sami Latka on Wednesday with serious meditated assault, which carries a maximum sentence of 12 years under Indonesia's criminal code.
The culturally rich Kalash Valleys in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa have been added to the UNESCO World Heritage Tentative List, marking a major step toward global recognition of the region's unique heritage. The listing includes the 3 remote valleys of Bumburet, Birir and Rambor, home to the indigenous Kalasha community, which has preserved its distinct polytheistic religion, traditions and way of life for centuries. The OnePlus Ace 6 Ultra is now official in China alongside a new gaming controller built for the device. Unlike the standard Ace 6 and Ace 6T models, the Ultra version uses a MediaTek chipset and focuses heavily on gaming performance, battery life and cooling features. The OnePlus Ace 6 Ultra features a 6.78-inch BOE OLED display with a resolution of 1272 by 2, 765 Hz refresh rate. It is a 10-bit panel with support for Dolby Vision, HDR10+, and 100% DCI-P3 color coverage. A dangerous trend has emerged in Karachi, where residents have started storing gas in plastic balloons amid worsening gas shortages, raising serious safety concerns. In areas like Orangi Town, particularly Mominabad, locals say prolonged gas load shedding and low pressure have forced them to adopt risky alternatives to meet daily cooking needs. K2 Airways has started cargo flight operations between Pakistan and Navoi in Uzbekistan, marking a new link between the two countries in the aviation sector. The airline began operations on April 28, using a Boeing 737-400 cargo aircraft, expanding freight connectivity and supporting trade movement between Pakistan and Uzbekistan.
And Mandi Bahoudin, a suspect wanted in the kidnapping and murder of a 6-year-old boy, was killed on Wednesday after allegedly coming under fire from his own accomplice during an encounter with police in Chak Sabu and Pindi Batian Tehsil of Hafizabad district. Officials said Hafizabad police spokesperson Head Constable Waqar Yusuf told Dawn that the body of the missing child was recovered from nearby fields during a search operation, and it was taken into custody and shifted to a hospital for post-mortem examination while legal proceedings were initiated.
An Indian man dug up his sister's body and carried it to a bank branch to prove she was dead after being refused access to her account without a death certificate. The lender had said Jittu Munda, from a constitutionally recognized tribal community in the eastern state of Odisha, went to an Indian overseas bank branch on Monday to withdraw money from his deceased sister's account.
And Pakistan has gone 3 for 3 at the Indian Film Festival in Los Angeles, IFFLA, with all 3 selections from Pakistani filmmakers receiving honorary mentions in their respective categories. Pakistani projects displayed at IFFLA included Samad Kusat's Lali and Seemab Gul's Ghost School, both of which bagged mentions from the grand jury in the feature film category.
As the war in Iran enters its 9th week with no clear end in sight, shipping traffic in the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz has been completely reshaped, heavily disrupting global markets and supply chains for oil, natural gas, fertilizer and other essential products. Before the United States and Israel launched their attacks on Iran in late February, about 3,000 vessels typically passed through the Strait of Hormuz each month, according to Lloyd's List Intelligence. Oil tankers passing through accounted for an estimated 15 million barrels per day of crude and other oil product exports, data from the analytics firm Kepler shows, amounting to about 1/5 of the world's oil trade.
And the pace of tropical forest destruction eased last year from a record high, but has remained at alarming levels, according to a new study that praises decisive government action. The world lost 4.3 million hectares, 10.6 million acres of tropical primary rainforest in 2025, down 36% from the previous year, researchers from the World Resources Institute, WRI, and the University of Maryland said on Wednesday.
Federal Interior Minister Mohsin Naqvi chaired an important meeting in Islamabad where it was decided that the entire record of the Capital Development Authority, CDA, will be digitized within 120 days. The minister said the initiative will improve transparency, speed up official processes, and allow citizens to check the updated status of their applications themselves. Work on the new terminal at Allama Iqbal International Airport has entered its final phase, with authorities expecting to open the upgraded facility for passengers in Lahore later this year. Once completed, the new terminal will double the airport's annual passenger handling capacity from 5 million to 10 million.
Ahead of World Environment Day 2026, the Punjab Environmental Protection Agency, EPA, has intensified its crackdown on plastic pollution, announcing a complete ban on plastic bags below 75 microns in the coming weeks. The move is part of a broader initiative to establish plastic-free zones in major city markets across the province.
Apple is expected to unveil iOS 27 on June 8 during its annual Worldwide Developers Conference. The software update is expected to introduce a delayed, smarter version of Siri powered by Google's Gemini technology, as well as new AI photo editing tools in the Photos app, as reported by Bloomberg.
And the Excise, Taxation and Narcotics Control Department Punjab will introduce 5 new vehicle registration number series for cars next month, expanding options for motorists seeking preferred number plates. The department said vehicle owners will be able to choose numbers from the new series, while premium or fancy numbers will be offered through an e-auction system.
TapTapSend, the leading remittance app recognised by the State Bank of Pakistan as the #1 app for sending money to Pakistan by users and volume sent, has partnered with Olympic champion Arshad Nadeem to highlight the contributions of under-recognised athletes and overseas Pakistanis supporting families back home. The initiative comes at a time when cricket continues to dominate national attention, often overshadowing achievements in other sports. Nadeem, who secured Pakistan's first Olympic gold medal in 4 decades, is the only individual athlete from Pakistan to have secured an Olympic gold medal. Previous gold medals for Pakistan were all won by the hockey team. Nadeem is among a small group of athletes who have brought global recognition to the country despite limited support. The United Arab Emirates said on Tuesday that it was quitting OPEC, dealing a heavy blow to the oil-exporting cartel and its de facto leader, Saudi Arabia, at a time when the Iran war has caused a historic energy shock and rattled the global economy. But what is OPEC and how does it impact consumers? 5 former US officials, including a former top military lawyer, have criticised the Pentagon for not acknowledging potential American involvement in a deadly strike on an Iranian school earlier this year. Some of those officials said it was highly unusual not to release even basic details of the strike after such a length of time.
Nearly all of Europe experienced above average annual temperatures in 2025, a year that included record high marine temperatures and wildfires from the Arctic to the Mediterranean. According to the World Meteorological Organization, the United Nations body released its findings on Wednesday in a joint report produced with the European Centre for Medium-Range Weather Forecasts, ECMWF, painting a grim picture of climate change in the region. A football match that produced 5 goals in the first half, 4 more in the second, and delivered the most exhilarating end-to-end action seen in recent years is being hailed as the greatest UEFA Champions League semi-final of all time, even before kickoff. The Paris Saint-Germain versus Bayern Munich semi-final on Tuesday was predicted to be a goal fest, but experts and fans have been left dumbfounded by the quality of football that bookended those 9 goals.
And US President Donald Trump says Iran is in a state of collapse and has urged a swift lifting of the US blockade as Gulf leaders meeting in Saudi Arabia call on Tehran to rebuild trust after treacherous regional attacks. Meanwhile, Israeli strikes in southern Lebanon have killed 3 emergency workers in what Lebanese President Joseph Aoun described as a war crime.
Indian-administered Kashmir, Rashid Ahmad Mughal was barely 6 when armed rebels barged into their home in Chuntwaliwar village in Gandarbal district of Indian-administered Kashmir. On a freezing January night in 2000, at about midnight, nearly a dozen armed men broke the window by force and entered the Mughals' home, where 6 people were asleep: 23-year-old Ishfaq, his 20-year-old sister Nasima, and younger brothers Ajaz, 8, and Rashid, 6, besides their 2 cousins. Sanitation workers under the Sutra Punjab program staged an unusual protest in Okara after not receiving their salaries for 2 months. In response to the delayed payments, workers dumped garbage on streets, in neighborhoods, and across marketplaces, deliberately making public areas dirty. Videos showing employees throwing trash onto roads have circulated widely.
And Pakistan's pharmaceutical regulatory system has received a significant boost as the Central Drug Laboratory, CDL Karachi, operating under the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, DRAP, has secured pre-qualification from the World Health Organization, WHO. Officials said the recognition allows the laboratory to test medicines, ensuring compliance with global benchmarks for quality, safety, and efficacy, stabilities, and efficacy. And the Punjab government has suspended the issuance of FARD as part of a pilot reform to modernise land and revenue systems starting from Sahiwal on May 1. Under the new system, property transactions will be carried out through the Green Property Certificate, which verifies ownership, possession and legal status of land. Authorities aim to replace the decades-old FARD system entirely across Punjab by December 2026.
Xiaomi has introduced 2 new open-source large language models, Xiaomi Memo V25 and Xiaomi Memo V25 Pro. Both models are released under the MIT license allowing developers and enterprises to use, modify, fine-tune, and deploy them commercially. The models are available through Hugging Face and can be deployed locally on private cloud systems or through Xiaomi's API services. The company is positioning the new lineup for agentic workloads such as coding, content creation, workflow automation, scheduling, and long multi-step tasks.
Banu, one terrorist was killed on early Wednesday when Banu police successfully thwarted a terrorist attack by repelling an assault on the Mazanga police post. Officials said, according to police officials, heavily armed terrorists launched an attack on the post in the early hours of Wednesday. However, police personnel responded promptly and effectively, foiling the assault.
After a year and a half of hosting all sorts of events, gigs and workshops, one of Karachi's few community spaces open to anyone and everyone, Kitabgah, has announced that it will be shutting its doors on May 31. In an Instagram post, the management of the venue in Pex said recent gentrification of the area around the citizen-run public library had led to an increase in rent, which they could no longer afford to pay.